Okay, now that we have our beautiful site kind of laid out and working, but still in its primitive stage, let's turn this into a template. Let me close some of these guys. You can see the progress that you made. Every time you do a view in browser, it opens up a new browser. Okay, so let's begin. Where are we? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a template, which means that we're going to be able to uh, create all kinds of pages using the same format. So the first thing we want to do is determine what on this page we want to customize per page. Uh, for instance, you don't want this hey Gary did this tomato page on every single page, and so we're going to create some editable regions. So let me highlight where we want our first editable region, and we can add some little bit of extra space there, and then we're going to go to Insert, Template, Editable Region. Okay, it's going to automatically save this as a template. We will say OK. And this is going to, then we name our editable region. So I'm going to call this main content stuff. Okay, so when I do that, look what happens. It creates this area that I will be able to modify. If I did not do this, we would create pages and nobody would be able to edit them. And so we created this template. So it automatically saved it as a template when we did that. Okay? And there it is. And so another editable region, we might want to put a different video on each page so that the page won't always be the same. The video on the page would change page by page. So on one page we could have a slideshow, another page we could have a YouTube, and more. So we're going to go Insert, Template, Editable Region, and we will call this My Things in the Right Bar. So when I do that, it will create that template or that editable region so that now these things will be editable. So these words right here. Notice that I left the divs out of the editable region. You don't want to go in there and mess around with your div structure. You just want to be able to change content. Now the footer, we're going to put like copyright information, and I'll show you how that works. So looky, we have our two editable regions, one in our section. Notice how I can put white space and how much easier it is to read when you do that. Okay, so when I save, it's going to turn it into a template. Save as a template because it knew it had editable regions, and those editable regions are only in templates. So I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to update the links. There's a reason for that, really complicated, so we're just going to hit yes and be happy therewith. Okay, so there it is. Now if I go to my files, I should see in my brain, I should see my site, demo site. I see my header graphic, my style CSS, my working, and now I have a DWT in a folder called templates. Now all the work that I'm going to do, if I rename things and move things around, I'm going to do it in the brain. So for instance, let's say I don't want my header graphic in the root folder. I believe I can right click and I can create a new, well, I guess I can't create a new folder. That's weird. Huh. There should be a way to add a new folder, it don't matter. let's forget it. Sorry about that. I'm sure you're gonna discover a way to do that and let me know. Okay, but here are all my files, including my template. Now let's say I want to create a whole bunch of pages. I have to go to Assets. Now, wouldn't that be something if you could just go to the file? But no, you can't. So you go to Assets, and if you click these buttons, look. Here, the first button shows you all the pictures that you're using in your site. If I had other graphics, I would see them here. It shows me the colors. We don't have colors. Any external URLs, any movies. Anyways, the second one is my templates. Now, you might have to hit refresh because of what it is, and it'll show your template page. Okay, and so I'm going to create some more pages. I'm going to right click the working template. Remember, we're in Assets, the second button, and we refreshed. I'm going to do New from Template. Not New Template, don't do that. You're going to get really goofed up if you hit New Template. New from Template. And look, it creates a page. And most of this you can't change. But you can change certain things. I'm going to call this my home page. There's home, tomatoes. Tomatoes power or something. Okay, so that's my tomatoes power. And then I can't change any of this, but I can change this. And so I'm going to call this home tomato page. Just until I get content from my client, which might be never. Okay, and here's my video. And I'm going to save it as, because it's my home page, making sure it's in my root folder, index with a small I, index. So that's my index page. And so I'm going to create what comes next, about. So I'll right click, new from template. Here's my new page. I'm going to create about us, about tomato, should pick something else, tomatoes power, about tomatoes, and looky, I can change it here. About tomatoes. Okay, so that's 2 pages. I'm going to save it as about. Here we go. I am accumulating these pages and get this work done. Cha-ching. Okay, so looky, if I go to my files, I begin to see all these files. Sure want to know how to create that directory. No, don't matter. See, that's going to bother me. All right, so now we go back to Assets, Templates, and I will do a new from template. I'm going to call this, what's next? Let's call this shop. We'll just skip it and just do a few. Because you are getting the idea. Shop for tomatoes. There we go. And notice that the editable region can be edited. Tomatoes are green. No, that's stupid. Okay, this is a shop page. Okay, buy stuff. Okay, so now if I save this file, save as shop, you can see that I would go through and create pages for each one of my navigational items. So if we go to files, we can see all my beautiful files right here, about, index, shop, and working. Now, in order to make changes to this whole site, I have to go back to the DWT. Notice that you can edit everything on the DWT. When you go to the pages created from the template, there's some things that you just can't change. And when you see something gray, it means that you can only change it on the template. When it isn't grayed out, it means you can edit it right there. Now, let me just point something out. When you do things in the brain, if you make any changes, like if I go to header over here and I call it header graphic, and then I click somewhere else, it's going to say, do you want to update all the pages that had header JPEG? shop, about, index, they all, and the DWT all had header JPEG. But now the graphic's called header graphic JPEG. Do you want to change all of these? And so you hit update, and look, every single one of those now updated the name of the graphic. And so that's why you have to make changes in the brain. Had I made those changes inside the Finder, the brain would have lost total track of it and your site would have been goofed out. So make sure all the changes you do as far as structure goes, make sure you do it inside your brain. I thought for sure there was a... This is why it bothered me. Alright, I'm not going to let it bother me. Okay, so now I have all these pages. I'm going to save all. And when you save all, it's going to ask you to update all of those. You know why it's updating? It's updating for my JPEG. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my DWT, and we're going to hyperlink. We're going to hyperlink the nav bar to our new pages. We have to do that in the template. You know why? Because you can't do it inside a page. You just can't do anything there. And so let's go to the DWT, and we'll find our beautiful, beautiful nav bar. Okay, so look, right now we have all these octothorpes instead of links. So I'm going to put my cursor by the octothorpe in home. When I go down to my properties and go to HTML, we see that there is the octothorpe right there. If I was to change this to, I don't know, XXX, and I hit refresh, look, the link now says XXX because it knows that what's in that hyperlink. Now, because this is our home page, we want it to link to our index. So, with this little point to file tool, I can click to my index, whoop, and look, it wrote the code. And then when I put my my cursor by the octothorpe here, there's that octothorpe there. I'm going to click and drag it to the about. Boom. And it writes the code. And so now my shop, here it is. I'm going to put it here and shop. Now you'll notice that there's two shops. There's a shop on the parent nav bar, and then there's a shop in the drop down. You might think that is a mistake, but it's not a mistake. What happens is on your site, you're going to be able to mouse over those buttons. Here we go. When you mouse over, the drop down comes down. But most people are going to see your site on the phone where there's no drop down. So what somebody on the phone would do is they would click shop, and then this would show up, and then they could pick shop. Otherwise, if they click shop, they would never see seeds or garden tools. So by having this, because on a phone there's no mouse over, they would click tomatoes. This would drop down, and one of the things that they could pick on that is tomatoes. So that's why. Okay, back to work. Okay, so here's my shop. I'm going to put both shops to shop. There it is. So now if you are on the computer and you click shop, well, then you go to shop. If you're on a phone, you would click shop, the drop down would come back down, and then you could pick shop. Alright, so look, I made the changes on the template, and so I'm going to save the DWT. I'm not going to save all. I'm just going to save the DWT. It knows that I created shop, about, and index from that template. So since I updated the template, do I want to update those files that were created with the template? So I will say update. There it is. After it says it gets through with it, I'm going to hit close. And now look, all of these now have to be saved because the three childs, or the three sub pages, were all updated because we updated the template. So now I hit save all, and it saves those guys. If I now view in the browser, I wonder what happened to my I wonder what happened to my, this happened to a friend at school. Okay, so let's find out what happened. Why in the world? It probably has to do with me changing the name of the graphic. Well, that was pretty stupid, huh? Okay, so here's my header graphic. Let's make sure it's all there. Okay, so what happens is sometimes, I'm glad this happened again because it's going to show you how you can handle something like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my DWT and I'm just going to put a space. Just by hitting the space bar, watch what happens. By making a change like putting a space, it's going to make me save my DWT. So here's my space. Look, now I got to save my DWT. So when I save it, it's going to ask me to update all 3 pages. And now I'm hoping. Okay, now I save all because they're all updated. And now I'm going to view in the browser. And now I have my graphics back. So sometimes when Dreamweaver goofs you out, see, so here's the home page. It's also in my tab. Here's my about tomatoes. And here's my shop. So now my buttons are working on every single page. And why is that? It's because when I made the changes in the template, it made the changes on all the pages. Now there's some things that you don't want to change. For example, the look and feel, you don't want anybody to change that. You want the directory structure. But let's say you want to change the footer. You know, what's in the footer? You want to put your copyright information. So I'm going to go back to Dreamweaver. I'm going to go down to the footer here, get my DWT. And what I might do here, looky, I'm going to put my cursor right after the closing footer there. I'm going to go to CSS in my properties. I'm going to edit rule. And I know that the footer has that back. I'm going to probably change it to something more tomato-y. Okay, because that's the kind of stuff that bothers me, even in a demo. Okay, but look what else I can do because that's going to be so dark and the letters are black. I can go down to type and I can make the type white. I can change the type font family. I'm going to change it to Gill Sans. I'm going to go down to, I think it's black, where I can text align center. And there, I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to put copyright 2017 Specs Howard or something like that. Specs Howard. Okay, so when I save it now, it's going to update the template. It's going to say, do you want to update the children file? So if you had 30,000 files, they would all be listed here. I'm going to do update. Good. It's done. I'm going to close. Now I'm going to save all. And when I view it in the browser, and I hit refresh, there's my centered copyright notice. So everything that we want to change, generally on the whole site, we do in a DWT. If we want to change it in particular, like buy stuff, I could go to shop and I could put buy my stuff. And so things that you change on the page, you do on the page. If you want to change it throughout the entire site, you would go and change it on the entire site. So that's how you create your template out of your site, how you add editable regions, and how you can change things on individual pages, or you can change things generally. Okay, so there's that.